The Pantheon of Hallownest is one of Hollow Knight's hardest challenges, requiring the player to defeat nearly all of the bosses in the game consecutively with minimal breaks. In this series, I will try to go into depth on every boss and show charm builds, exploits, and tips and tricks on how to defeat them. It will probably last around 3 to 4 episodes because there's a lot to talk about, and I'm sure you guys don't want to sit through a 3-hour video. But anyway, let's get into it. As far as charms go, for this Pantheon, I highly recommend using Strength, Quick Slash, Shaman Stone, Steady Body, and Grub Song. Strength is one of the best charms in the game, as it increases your damage by 50%. This is really good, especially when coupled with Quick Slash, as it allows you to have insane DPS. Shaman Stone is also very, very powerful, as it increases your spell's damage significantly, and it allows you to get a lot more value out of your soul. If you really want to, you can replace one of these charms with Quick Focus, if you feel that you need more survivability, and if you're going to do this, I recommend exchanging Quick Slash for it. Steady Body is extremely underrated, as it allows you, when paired with Quick Slash, to just absolutely destroy certain bosses that take knockback, such as Hornet, Great Nail Sage Sly, Hive Knight, Great Prince Zote, and more. This is also optional, and you can replace it with whatever you feel more comfortable with, if you like Nailmaster's Glory or Dreamwielder, for example. And Grub Song is really good because you get hit a lot in this Pantheon, and it allows you to heal up or use spells. In the vanilla game, the Vengefly King is one of the easiest bosses, but in the Pantheon of Hallownest, there's 2 of them, which makes it kind of hard. This is a fight that I've never managed to get consistent at doing without taking a bunch of damage, so you can see in this clip I just sort of face tank them and deal damage, but this is probably not what you should be doing. At the start of the fight, you can jump off to the left and get in 2 free hits on the left Vengefly. Every time they swoop down, you jump over them and pogo downwards. While you're in the air, you can either get a Shade Soul off on the Vengefly, or you can use your double jump and dash to get on top of them on the other side of the arena and pogo them a bunch. Every time they scream, it's pretty simple. You can kill the flies with your nail, or if they're on the other side of the arena to you, you can use a Shade Soul. If you get an opportunity where they're both on the same side of the arena, try to get underneath them and you can get off 2 or 3 streaks. It's definitely worth the damage that you'll almost certainly take. This boss is fairly simple, so there isn't really much to talk about here. If you're still having trouble with it, I recommend practicing it on Ascended mode in the Hall of Gods. If you can beat it there consistently, then you shouldn't have any problems in the Pantheon. Another fight that I'm not very comfortable with, but thankfully False Knight is next, so it doesn't matter if you take too much damage. There really is not a lot to cover here, but the main things that you need to know is to make sure that you utilize your Abyss Shriek every time that she's above you to get in a bunch of damage. Whenever she looks like she's about to charge at you, just dash to the nearby platform, as they're always 1 dash away, so you'll never fall into the spikes. And whenever she's right above you, pretty much just spam with your nail, and that's really all there is to it. It's a very simple fight. As the first boss in the game, False Knight is very, very easy. But there is one thing that I should mention. There's a small trick where every time he's staggered, you can pogo on top of his armor every 5 seconds and he'll stay down forever. You can use this to gather a bunch of soul and heal up, and then every time he wakes up, you can hit him twice and then shriek twice and he'll go down instantly. Okay, I promise we're gonna get to some complex bosses soon. Basically, every time the bush jumps over you, you want to just up strike it and then Shade Soul. When it comes from the front, you can stand still and just get into a rhythm of hitting it, but if you slowly inch forward, it gives you a lot better DPS. Finally, a boss with more than 2 attacks. Hornet is one of the most fun early game bosses, and while it's not as difficult in Pantheons, it's still quite an enjoyable experience compared to the other bosses that we've already talked about. Right at the start of the fight, you can charge up a nail art and use a Cyclone Slash as she's falling from the ceiling. You probably already know this, but just in case you didn't, if you spam attack, it makes the Cyclone Slash go for around twice as long. This will usually hit all 6 times, which will result in Hornet getting staggered. After waking up from a stagger, she will always do a jump attack, so you can use this time to use a shriek or heal because she'll never land directly on top of you. The fastest and easiest way to kill Hornet is to just charge at her and spam her with nails, regardless of how much damage you're taking. However, this is not a great strategy if you're less experienced, because you'll want all the health you can get for Gorb. Gorb is an extremely simple boss with only 1 attack, and yet he still somehow manages to be an absolute pain in the ass. It's weirdly hard for how simple it is. There's not many tips that I can really give, but basically, so if he's above you, Abyss Shriek. If he's to the side of you, Shade Soul, and just try and hit him without falling into the void. There really aren't any tips I can give for this. Dung Defender is a pretty fun fight, and the first one where I can actually give helpful advice. This fight is all about positioning, because some attacks have strange hitboxes that aren't super obvious. At the start of the fight, before he pops out of the ground, you can use Descending Dark, and then jump on top of him and use it again. This allows you to skip the scream, and you can hit him while would usually have stunned you. When he throws his dung balls, make sure to back off after every hit, because his arm can actually hit you and deal damage, which is very irritating. When he buries into the ground, you can use Descending Dark to get him out, or you can wait till he bursts out and you can shriek while he's falling. After he screams for the 2nd time, if you're too close to him, when he leaps forward to go onto the ground, he will hit you, so make sure that you're holding back if you're too close. And that's pretty much all the advice I have for him. Soul Warrior is a pretty simple fight. There's not really a lot to talk about. Every time he throws an orb at you, you pretty much just jump to lure it away, or you can dash through it and then you just attack him. When he dives from above, you just dash to the side, and when he swings at you, then you can just jump over and pogo it. The only really tricky part about this fight is dealing with the follies, but I honestly just ignore them. Like, if I'm hitting him enough, then I should hit the follies eventually as well. At the start of the fight, you can do a shriek if you get the timing right, and the 4 ticks of damage is definitely worth the 1 damage you'll probably take, but if you're not comfortable with the timing, I wouldn't recommend it. The Brooding Mawlek is another fight that's a lot about positioning. If you're too close to him at any one time, then he will swing his claw at you and it's pretty hard to dodge without dashing away. So I find the best way to beat him is to just stand close, get in 2 hits, and then dash away. When he shoots his little infection blobs all up in a massive burst, then you can dash through him and you can get off 5 or 6 hits before he starts attacking again, so that's the best opportunity to damage him. When he jumps above you, you can also get in a shriek, but it's usually not worth it, as he'll often land on you. The first phase of Oro and Mato is fairly simple. Oro only has 3 attacks: his jump slam, double slash, and dash slash. When he jumps into the air, you can do one of 3 things. You can either jump up to meet him and hit him before dashing out, shriek before dashing out, or just walk underneath him and hit him once he lands. When he slashes, you can just dash through him and keep spamming. When he does his dash slash, you can jump and use Descending Dark for some extra damage, although you need to make sure to start jumping before he slashes. I recommend doing a double jump because it's a lot safer. When Mato joins in phase 2, at the start, you can stand between them and get off 3 shrieks, or alternatively, you can play it safe and just stand to the side. Mato has 400 more health than Oro in this phase, so you will usually be left with just Mato at the end. An important thing to note is that they will attack you one at a time unless you are in between them, so it is a good idea to keep them on the same side of you at all times. They'll take turns at jumping over and attacking you, so just hit them a couple of times every time they jump towards you. After Oro and Mato, you get a bench room, so make sure to get full health and full soul before moving on. However, I don't recommend changing your charms just yet. This boss is pretty simple, so there isn't much to say here. The main tips I can give is that when you hit him, you should always try and hit him in the opposite direction to the way that he's moving. So if he's moving towards you to the left, try and hit him to the right, because that'll stop him from just moving straight past you and making him very difficult to hit, and it allows you to get in a few combos. As soon as he summons in his second set of swords, just start spamming Abyss Shriek, and then if he moves too far away, you can use Shade Soul to finish him off. Once again, another very simple boss. The only tips I can really give for this are that to not use your Shadow Dash when he starts jumping around to close the distance, because you'll want to save that for when he starts shooting lasers. This is another fight where Steady Body is really good, because it allows you to completely ignore the ceiling lasers and just keep hitting him. There is a lot to say about this boss. First of all, at the start of the fight you can get off 2 free shrieks. The damage really speeds up the fight, and if he doesn't teleport fast enough, it can even stagger him. The Orb Summon attack is fairly easy to deal with, just close the distance with dashes and hit him. If he is on the ground, you can stand right next to him and the orbs will never hit you. This allows you to get in a few hits before he teleports away. When he appears above you, just dash away and jump over him. If you feel comfortable, you can hit him as he comes down, but I wouldn't recommend it. When he charges across the arena, jump and pogo him, and then dash towards him and pogo him again. When he does his orb circle attack, you can jump over the orb and hit him with your nail, or you can use Shriek. After he goes off screen, the center of the arena will always be safe to heal in, as the orbs will never hit there on their way back. During the second phase, you can simply dash out of the way of the slam, or if you are comfortable, you can jump and hit him before he slams down each time. This will speed up the fight significantly, so I recommend practicing it. You can also use Shriek before he slams down, but I wouldn't recommend it because you want as much health and soul for the next 2 fights as possible. Once he finishes giving himself a concussion, you can just spam him to death, but make sure to go nail only here to save soul for the next fight. Oh boy, where do I even start? These guys suck, and I might just be saying that because I had a bad experience on Radiant, but I absolutely hate them. I mean, there is a little bit of strategy, I guess, where you have to split the damage fairly evenly between the two, because once you kill one, the other gets a massive health boost and becomes way faster, so you want to shorten that phase as much as possible. The general strategy is you want to go back and forth between the two, hitting them, and then when they're both on the same side of you, you can spam them with Shade Souls. Generally what I do is I do like 5 hits on one, 5 hits on the other, do that twice, and then I just spam Shade Soul until one of them's dead, and then from there you can just chase him around and Shriek. This is the first Pantheon of Hallownest exclusive boss, and I think this takes the spot for my favourite boss of all time. It's not the hardest thing ever, but it can be really intimidating on your first time when all 3 jump down at the same time. The first phase shouldn't be a problem if you've already gotten up to the 5th Pantheon, so I won't go into too much detail. However, as this is technically a new boss, I will try my best to explain every attack and all the strategies behind it in Phase 2. The Sisters of Battle have 2 patterns that they can do. They can either perform dash and drop attacks in quick succession, or 2 of them can do a boomerang attack while the other does a drop attack. The dash attack is fairly easy to deal with, as you can just jump over the sister and pogo. You can follow this up by either walking over and slashing, dashing over and double slashing, using a Shade Soul, or using Descending Dark. I recommend the latter because it makes it easier to avoid the next attack and deals damage to all nearby sisters. When a sister performs a drop attack, I recommend walking to the side instead of dashing. This is because if you get cornered, you'll want your Shade Dash up to escape. When 2 sisters perform a boomerang, the third will always drop down onto your location. The boomerangs can travel in various patterns. They can meet in the center before spreading outwards, as in the Mantis Lord's fight. They can move outwards before converging in the center, also seen in the Mantis Lord's fight. They can converge on either side of the arena, or they can be thrown one at a time. I find the best way to dodge this is to use Descending Dark to dodge the dropping sister, but if you don't have soul, moving to the side also works. After this, use your dash and double jump to evade the boomerangs. Try to stay in the center of the arena as much as possible. This will help prevent you from getting cornered or pushed into the spikes. After the first phase, you can heal up to 6 masks of health because their screen doesn't stun you. After the first sister dies, the fight just becomes regular Mantis Lords, so once you get to this phase, you should be in the clear. Try to take it slow and don't get overwhelmed, and focus on trying to get in one hit after every attack. This is where I'm going to end the first part. This video was edited by my good friend Ellie, so make sure to go check him out, he'll be in the description. If this helped you, leave a like, or don't, I don't really care.